Russia's gasoline crisis, the oil giant that ran dry Russia, the world's third-largest oil producer, has found itself in a situation that once seemed unimaginable. The nation that helped fuel the world is now struggling to fuel itself. Incredibly, Russia has begun importing gasoline, all thanks to a relentless Ukrainian campaign and the crushing weight of international sanctions. For the past 2 months, Ukraine's long-range drones have been hammering Russia's oil infrastructure, refineries, fuel depots, and storage sites, all targets in what President Zelensky has called the most effective sanctions of all. The results are visible everywhere: fuel shortages, long queues, and prices soaring up to 50% higher in some regions. The Kremlin's finances, already under strain from war, are being pushed to the breaking point. At first glance, it seems absurd. How could a country sitting on oceans of crude oil possibly run out of fuel? But crude oil itself isn't what powers cars, trucks, or planes. It's a thick, raw mixture of hydrocarbons, useless until it's refined into gasoline, diesel, or jet fuel. That refining process is Russia's weak spot, and Ukraine knows it. Russia's entire refining system relies on a few giant facilities, each one a perfect target. When even a handful are knocked offline, the ripple effects are massive. As of last month, nearly 40% of Russia's total refining capacity, equivalent to about 338,000 tons of fuel per day, had gone offline. That's the highest shutdown rate ever recorded, and it's left gas stations across the country running dry. In 2024 alone, Ukraine launched at least 81 drone attacks against Russian refineries and fuel depots. And by the late summer of 2025, 21 of Russia's 38 major refineries had suffered direct hits. The damage was catastrophic. Just 2 of those months, August and September, saw strikes that disabled facilities capable of refining 123 million tons of oil per year, nearly 40% of Russia's capacity. Among the hardest hit was Rosneft's massive Ryazan refinery, one of the country's top 5, located just 200 kilometers from Moscow. When Ukrainian drones set it ablaze, fuel supplies to the capital region were instantly disrupted. Days later, the Novokuybishevsk refinery in Samara was struck, another critical hub that feeds southern and central Russia. Then came the Astrakhan refinery near the Caspian Sea, a key node for exports, followed by the devastating blaze at the Kurishi refinery near St. Petersburg, Russia's second largest. By mid-September, 4 of Russia's 5 biggest refineries were offline. Each strike sent shockwaves through the system. Production plummeted, maintenance was abandoned, and aging facilities were forced to run beyond their limits. Fires and breakdowns became routine. In some cases, even emergency fuel tankers carrying supplies were hunted down by Ukrainian drones mid-transit. Ukraine's drone campaign has evolved into something far more sophisticated than anyone expected. Methodical, precise, and devastatingly strategic. According to Ukraine's General Staff, nearly half of all long-range drone strikes since January have targeted oil infrastructure. In just 2 months, gasoline and diesel output fell by nearly a quarter nationwide. Repairing the damage is no easy task. Russia's refineries depend on specialized Western components and software, catalysts, control systems, and safety modules, once supplied by companies like UOP and ABB. But sanctions have completely cut off that flow. Without them, fixing a refinery is like trying to repair a German luxury car using spare parts from a Soviet Lada. Repairs that used to take weeks now stretch into months, sometimes longer. And the longer this war drags on, the less likely those refineries will ever return to full capacity. The result is chaos. Gasoline shortages have hit at least 10 major regions, from Ryazan and Nizhny Novgorod to Saratov and Rostov. In some areas, fuel deliveries have stopped altogether. Stations that remain open now ration supplies and forbid customers from filling jerry cans. In Russia's Far East, local governments have been forced to introduce coupon-based fuel systems, a wartime measure not seen since the 1990s. Crimea's situation is even worse. More than half of the peninsula's gas stations have shut down completely because the wholesale price of fuel now exceeds the legal retail price. Running a station means operating at a loss, and tanker deliveries, often delayed for months, must be prepaid in full. If a tanker is hit by a drone, the owner bears the entire loss. Since May, more than 300 independent fuel retailers have closed their doors. The shortages are even hurting Russia's own military. Soldiers in occupied Donetsk and Luhansk now spend hours waiting in fuel lines instead of fighting.